All right, gang, and welcome back to Procreate. So let's go ahead and take the next step on this lesson. Now we're pretty much done with the references, so let's go ahead and clean up our layer a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and unlock my reference layers, and then I'm going to go ahead and delete them. Okay, my layers are deleted. Now let's go ahead and undo the sketch layer 2, at least the red one. All right, now we want to keep the blue one. So now what we're going to do, let's go ahead and turn down that. Let's go ahead and merge this layer into the center group. Hey, that would help if I opened up the center group, wouldn't it? All right, perfect. So we got the center group and we've got the petal group. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select them all. And we're going to move them as a completed unit. Now you see how I did that. I right swiped on all of the layers. Then I grabbed my transform tool and I moved them front and center. Okay. So now let's go ahead and manipulate our workspace. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to paint on the background layer. All right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to grab our palette. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to work in kind of a bluish because I kind of want it to be something a little bit contrasty. I want to make it kind of a lightish blue. So let's go something around in here, almost a grayish steely blue. And let's go ahead now and grab our soft airbrush. I use this a lot. Let's go ahead and turn on the size here. Turn this up. Turn this part up. And now, oops, open the layer. We didn't add a new layer. Again, that's why we lock them. Make sure you're practicing good layer habits. Now, I'm going to work on top of this stuff, but you can definitely work on the bottom of this stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in kind of just this S curve here. All right, perfect. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more opacity here. All right. Okay. Okay. Now let's go ahead and pull this down to the bottom. All right, now let's go ahead and add a little bit more light to that. Let's go ahead and come all the way over here. And we're probably going to add a little bit more there. Perfect. Let's go ahead and turn this bad boy down. Okay, we'll turn that up just slightly. And notice how here I'm just kind of filling stuff in. Just want to give it a little bit of something here. And then let's go ahead and bring that down just a little bit more. And now right where it crosses over, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it just a little bit more blue. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to drop that down and I'm going to give it a little bit more backbone. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and use the smudge tool a little bit. I'm going to crank that bad boy up a little. Let's see what smudge tool we got picked. Okay, the soft airbrush. And I'm going to smudge that into existence. Okay. You see how I'm kind of creating softness through using the smudge tool? All right, so you can go through and you can do anything you really want with this now. One last thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to crank this down just a little bit more. I'm going to grab my soft airbrush, and I'm going one level deeper just as I approach this area. I'm going to turn that down a little bit, and I'm going to throw in a little bit more texture around this water feature. All right, so you can do a lot with this different water feature, whatever you decide to do on this one. I'm going to show you something now that you could do if you wanted to. With the layer selected, you can grab the eraser, you can go to the soft airbrush, and we can crank this opacity down a little bit. Let's go ahead and crank this guy down. And now, part of the way that you show contrast is you leave a little halo around what's in the foreground. So here, if I leave a little halo around this area where the water moves in front, or I should say behind, you see the effect that begins to give? It tells you very clearly what's in front of what. Okay, so you can do whatever you decide you want to do with this. I like to put a halo on my stuff. You can certainly leave it. So now, when we go through here, we can go ahead now and delete that sketch layer out. So that is how you go through and draw, paint in Procreate using the techniques that you've already learned. All right, folks, we'll see you in the next one. We'll take the next